Hello, everyone, and welcome to New Consciousness Review and the Rising Stars Show. I'm afraid that today's rising star has not yet risen. We do not know where he is, and I am hoping that he will get back to us. But in the meantime, what we will do is try and catch up with our guest, perhaps at some other time, and record something for the archive. But I have to apologize for the moment because our guest was supposed to be Yuval Rohn, who actually promised to be a really fascinating guest. He's an internationally renowned world music artist and composer and peace activist, author. He's won a Grammy. No, he was nominated for a Grammy, but he won an Oscar for his musical score for a wonderful movie, which, if you haven't seen, is called West Bank Story, which from memory was basically a takeoff on the West Side Story, set in the West Bank with a romance between a beautiful Palestinian girl and a young Israeli soldier. And it was all about their trying to bring their respective warring clans into some kind of understanding of their love for each other. This is such a poignant scenario that we see played out again and again across the millennia, across the cultures, across the religions. And it all boils down to the ability of love to bridge the chasm between the cultural and religious and ethnic misunderstandings that divide us as people. We see this coming up again and again in the current political discourse when ethnic fears are being played upon by the politicians just for their own personal gain. And it kind of was the subject of my editorial, the editorial in the new issue of New Consciousness Review magazine that just came out on the 1st of the month, where I talk about the difference in mentality among, actually it goes back to the financial services sector, which I was peripherally engaged in for a number of years, where a company is judged by its performance, not in the last year or the last 5 years, but only in its financial performance in the last quarter and what a trader's expectation is that it might do in the coming quarter. It's kind of like futures tradings where traders make money just on the difference between the buying and selling, kind of buy low and sell high, or sell, big quantities and make a few pennies on each one. But when you sell in large enough quantities, you actually can make a lot of money. And in fact, sorry for moving around like a grasshopper, but it brought to mind a lawsuit, not a lawsuit. There was something about the telephone line between New York and Chicago that gave an edge to the New York traders of milliseconds. And it was just a question of the information coming in at a speed of a few milliseconds sooner that enabled the New York traders to have a big edge. Anyway, getting back to the trader mentality, that is the way that people in the political scene have been couching their discourse. It's all short-term gain. It's all the next primary or the next caucus or the next soundbite on a TV show. rather than actually giving the voter the benefit of the doubt for having some intelligence and really looking for integrity and value in the political discourse. And in the corporate scene, this is looking for real value in a company, looking for what they do in the community, how they treat their workers, the quality of their products, the usefulness of their products to the consumer in the long term, not just its kind of flashy attraction in the short term. I know I sound like an old person thinking about the good old days, and there was a lot of bad stuff in the good old days. But one of the things that we are losing in this technological age, in the short attention span that we have, is a focus on values, on the real values of our work, on the real values of how we come together in society, what we offer each other as a community. Sometimes the only time these real values come to the fore is in times of crisis, when a storm hits or when a fire breaks out. Then people tend to come together and help each other. And it doesn't matter what your religion or skin color is. People really do have this inbuilt instinct to help and someone in need. Sometimes that is overridden by fear of the unknown, because we live nowadays in such insular societies. We live in our communities where we don't see people who are different from us unless we happen to be at the edge of a community, at the boundary between two groups. Or if we live sometimes in a high-rise in an urban environment, even there, people tend to be more like us than different. So how do we bridge this divide? How do we get over the gaps? One way is simply to get to know your neighbors. And if they're not your neighbors, simply to get out into different cultural environments. There are a lot of initiatives that are built on interfaith communication. And that's actually one of the things that our guest today has been brilliant at. He has used the power of music to create musical bridges around the world and to create peace tours where he has a multi-faith ensemble of Sufi and Jewish and African American and Hindu musicians, each performing the songs of their traditions, the music of their traditions. And in fact, he has a book that's just come out called Music as a Path to Wisdom. Divine Attunement, Music as a Path to Wisdom. And I guess he's focusing really on the ways that people use music to connect to the divine. In one of the videos that I saw in preparation for this kind of non-show, he had a whirling dervish, and there they whirl around to music and go into an altered state. We know how drumming is used in Native American traditions and in African traditions, and really indigenous traditions around the globe, to connect with the heartbeat of the universe. In Native American drumming, the drums often connect to the human heartbeat and use that as a bridge to connect into Mother Spirit, Mother Earth, and beyond into all that is. And I guess in a sense, that's what this show is all about. It's about how do we connect from our little selves into our greater selves, into all that is, into all that we can become, all that we truly are.
I'm on Skype. Hello, Miriam.
Hello, Yuval.
Miriam, I apologize. I got stuck in traffic in Los Angeles on the way to my studio, and the roads were blocked. And I was on my cell phone, but I didn't know your number. I couldn't call you. I apologize. I just got into my studio right now.
Well, better late than ever. And I've kind of given people a bit of an introduction to you. So
Good, very good.
I'm so glad that you have joined us. I've been talking about how you use your music. I've been talking about your book, actually, about divine attunement and music as a path to wisdom, and how your ensemble expresses the different ways that different communities connect. Now, I hear our studio in the background, so I've actually been tap dancing for 15 minutes. So we have to take a break. But then, hallelujah, we will be back with Yuval Ron and talking about divine attunement. Our guest, Yuval Ron, and we were talking about his book, but his book is really just the tip of the iceberg of everything that he does. As I mentioned, he's a peace activist and an educator. He's lectured at Yale and Johns Hopkins and UCLA and MIT, and he has collaborated with neuroscientists to explore the connection between sound and the brain, and his healing music is used in clinics and treatment centers. And we were talking about his book, Divine Attunement, Music as a Path to Wisdom. And Yuval, I wanted to ask you, I love the tagline of your book. Mm-hmm. How did you embark on that path, on music as a path to connecting people?
Well, it started, I think, when I was very young in Israel, when I was in high school. I think early days, I played guitar back then, and I noticed that whenever I would bring my guitar to a field trip or to a party, people would gather around me. And it would create a circle. People would leave their differences behind. You know, in high school, there's all kinds of social status and cliques and issues for teenagers. Those are the common dynamics everywhere. But I noticed in early age, I noticed that when I strummed the guitar and I played a song that everybody knew, everybody was singing, and people that were on the fringes were accepted, everybody were on the same footing, singing along. In Israel, they love to sing along. It's something about Israel that is very big, sing-alongs. So that's how it started. I just sensed it intuitively. I didn't make a big mental mark of it at the time. But then it went on to an experience I had with the Bedouins in the Sinai Desert. When I was 17, I traveled with my guitar and friends from my high school to the Sinai Desert, and we met the Bedouins, the nomads, and that's where I saw the oud, the ancient Middle Eastern lute that I play now, and I've been playing for more than 30 years. But I saw the oud, and I saw the Bedouins sitting around the fire at night playing the oud, and I brought my guitar, and I just tried to imitate what they were doing on the oud on my guitar. And again, a circle of people that were traveling in the desert suddenly came and sat around the fire. There were tourists who were walking by foot in the desert, people from Scandinavia, from England, from the United States, people from Jordan, people from Israel, and they were all coming to the fire and to the sound from very far distance, because in the desert there were no buildings, no roads, no factories, no electricity. So the sound in the desert, in such a desert, the sound travels for miles and miles. So people came from far following the sound. And they came and sat around the fire. And in the morning, people came to me and said, "Oh, you're the guy who played around the fire last night. You're the guy." And everybody wanted to know me. People wanted to socialize with me. People from different countries who I never met before. Some people who I couldn't even communicate with because they didn't know English or Hebrew or Arabic, but they were there. People from Germany or Sweden. And we befriended because of the music. So that was a very early experience that I had. And then I came to Boston to study music for films. That's what I specialized in composing music for films. And that led me to Los Angeles to compose music for television and films. And I put my instruments aside. I focused on being a composer for 15 years. And since college, actually before college, back in Israel, when I was 19, I think, I became interested in mystical teachings. First, it was Kabbalah, the Jewish mysticism. I started studying in Israel when I was 19. And then I came to Boston and I studied with a Chabad rabbi in Boston, Bat Kabbalah. And then in college, I became interested in Buddhism and then Zen. And then later it led to Sufism. So I started exploring wisdom traditions. And I found that they were all from the East. Judaism and Buddhism and Zen and Hinduism, it's all from the East. It's all where I came from. I came to the United States from Israel. And so I explored mysticism and wisdom traditions in parallel to my musical exploration as a composer. And gradually I started combining the two. And in 2000, I was inspired to create an ensemble of musicians from the Middle East, from different countries, Palestinians, Syrians, Turks, Armenians, Israelis, and I brought them together to become what later became the Yuval Ron Ensemble. In the beginning, it was called just Yuval Ron and Friends. And basically, it was people that I met in Los Angeles in different parties, in just social gatherings. And we began playing music together. Again, just like in the desert, just like when I was a teenager in Israel, the same thing happened in Los Angeles, in parties, in backyards of houses of people. Suddenly, there was a Persian drummer sitting next to me. Suddenly, there was a Palestinian singer singing next to me, a player, a qanun player from Jordan. And we start just playing for fun in parties because my day job and my full career was focused on composing. Are you still there, Miriam?
Yep.
Okay. So I looked around in the room one day in 2000 and I saw all these people from different countries of the Middle East who come from opposing camps, opposing nationalities, opposing religions, opposing ethnic backgrounds. And I saw that we sit together and we create harmony together, and we have perfect understanding beyond languages, beyond borders, and we have love to the harmony that we create. We all appreciated it. And I decided to take this out to the public, to put it on stage and to use it as a tool to educate people about the history, about the traditions of the Middle East, and to use that as a demonstration how we can create great beauty if we work together. So that is the message that I bring with my work.
That's such a beautiful story. And I have a great vested interest in seeing peace in the Middle East, as you know. And I'm wondering whether you saw rapprochement. What effects did you see of your music in some of these really tense areas?
That's a great question that I'm being asked often by reporters, and I can spend few hours telling you all the anecdotes and all the stories and experiences that I created, that I experienced and collected over the years. Um, I can tell you a few of them. One is a few years ago I was in residency in Yale University. I was an artist in resident in the Divinity School of Yale University, me and my whole ensemble. And we gave master classes, and we gave workshops, and we gave a concert. After the concert, a young student came to me, really skinny, pale looking guy. And he told me, look, I'm a voice major in Yale University, and I'm going to graduate next year. And I came to your concert, and I'm really inspired to do something with my music, but I have no idea what. I just know that I studied music in Yale and I want to go out of Yale, and because of your concert, I want to do something good in the world with my music. Would you help me figure it out? That's what the student told me. Mm-hmm. And I said to him, look, here's my email, here's my phone number. Let's keep in touch. I'll be happy to mentor you. I'll be happy to advise you. So this kid remained in touch with me, and he told me later that he has this intuition that he needs to go to Jerusalem, that he needs to find what he will do with music in Jerusalem. And so I helped him and guided him to connect with musicians, Jewish musicians, Arabic musicians in Jerusalem, who I know. And he went there on he got a grant, a Fulbright. He received a Fulbright grant to go to Jerusalem, and I remained in touch with him. And then he came up with the concept. He came up with a vision that he will create a choir of Jews, Christians, and Muslims, children in Jerusalem, and he called it Jerusalem Youth Choir. This has never been done. Can you believe that? Nobody ever dared to even think and come with this vision, because Jerusalem is so segregated, because the people are so, they experience the hate, they experience the anger, they are segregated physically, they're segregated mentally. And here is a young skinny kid from Connecticut coming with an idea. And he decided that he will go to all the high schools in Jerusalem and audition every child in Jerusalem, in all the schools, and find the best singers across that city from all the different neighborhoods and different religions and put them together. Can you believe this kid going to talk to the principals of all those schools in that city? It's a tough city. Nobody wanted to talk to him. And you know what? I encouraged him to continue with his vision, and he made it. He created the Jerusalem Youth Choir. You can look on YouTube. Now they're giving concerts all over the world. They just finished last summer a tour of Japan. They're coming to sing in America. He connected families and kids from across the divide. And this all started with one concert that I gave in Yale University several years ago. Now, this is just one story, just one anecdote. I can sit and tell you 70 stories in the next 10 hours. And this is all because of the work that we do. Now, we cannot measure it scientifically. We may see the impact of that in the future, but I'm confident that the only thing one can do is to inspire good in the world, to inspire hope, and to inspire others to do the same. So for me, the best stories, the best examples are what happened to people who come to my concerts and workshops, and what they do in the world that is beyond.
Fantastic. Well, it's break time again, and we are speaking with Yuval Ron. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
We're speaking with Yuval Ron, the music artist, composer, peace activist. And I understand, Yuval, that you have just started a nonprofit foundation. Can you tell us about it?
Yes, indeed. The foundation is called Inspired Sound Initiative, and you can see it online, inspiredsoundinitiative.org. And the reason for starting this nonprofit organization is a vision that I have to try to bring more of the work that I do with children to communities that would never get the work that I do. So Yale University can afford to bring 10 artists of my ensemble across the country for a residency. Sometimes universities like Yale and University of Chicago and many other universities, Johns Hopkins, UCLA, sometimes they gift an event to a community school. Sometimes they send me to do an outreach in an inner city school, sometimes, and they're very kind to do that and pay for it. But most of the time, schools that lost the arts, that have no music and have no visiting artists, communities that are in poverty and radicalism, not just in America, but all over the world. I just came from India a week ago, and I was told in India that the radicalism, Islamic radicalism in India is now highest in the poorest neighborhoods of Muslim communities in Rajasthan and in India. And I was told that by leaders of the Muslim community. They are very concerned about that. And I did a workshop in Rajasthan a week ago for children in these poor neighborhoods, to bring them together and to teach them songs about sharing, about creating unity, about accepting other kids of other religions. That's the kind of work that needs to be done. And because the communities that need us the most don't have the resources, I decided to create a nonprofit organization that will raise the money from corporations and from foundations and from donors and sponsors and gift the work that I do to the schools and communities around the world that have no resources. So the workshop that we just did in Rajasthan, in Ajmer, in that school that bring together Muslims, Hindu, Sikh, and Christian children together, we went there and we gifted the workshop to the school. The school paid nothing, not for the transportation or fees or any expenses. Everything was gifted by my foundation to that school. We want to do more of that around this country, around the States, and around the world. We do this work, but we want to do more of it. And again, we want to train other artists. We want to train other musicians how to do this work. So we grow, and we have other ambassadors and other organizations all around the world doing the same kind of work that we do, training children to become citizens who care about harmony, peace, and beauty and unity, using music and dance.
That's fascinating. It reminds me of an interview I had with some hip-hop artists, where hip-hop actually was used as an expression of change in a culture, an expression of cultural identity in opposition to the existing feelings of rejection and alienation. And what you're doing is similar in spirit, in that you are creating with your music and dance a feeling of connectedness as opposed to alienation.
Right, right. I'll give you an example of what we just did in India. So in that school, it's a unique school. They bring children from 4 different religions together, even though with great resistance from the families. But they lure the families in by giving free food and free tuition to the children. And the poor families, even though they don't want to go to that school, although it's a very good school, but they are afraid to go, or they have superstitious position to go to a school where Muslim kids and Christian kids and Buddhist and Sikh and Hindu kids studying together. The families from a very poor background are bringing the children and learning that they can create harmony together. But what was interesting is that they gave a 2 hours presentation of the children singing and dancing and doing all kinds of skits, and involve skits and dances from the different religions. And the way they do it is beautiful. They have, let's say, they had a fashion show, how Muslim girls in India dress, and then how Christian girls in India dress, and how Sikh and how Hindu ladies dress up. And it was a beautiful fashion show. So side by side, showing the harmony together. And then they had songs from the different 4 religions that are coexist in that school. And that was wonderful. But then I went on stage and gave my presentation with my ensemble. And I taught them a song in English about giving love, about sharing light, about teaching peace and leading and having that led to harmony. And that was all fine. That was all within what they were used to. And then I took it a step further to a place that they normally don't do. I taught them a song that is an old Israeli song about love, which I recorded on my CD, Seeker of Truth. And we sing it as a prayer for peace. It's a song called Erev Shel Shoshanim, but we sing it as Shalom Salam, as a prayer for peace. And originally it was just for Israelis and Palestinians. But what I did it with the word Shalom, Salam, Shanti, which means peace in Hindu, and Hallelujah, which especially, it's a Hebrew word, but especially engaged the Christian kids. And so it's one song, one melody, using 4 different words that are sacred words and core words for peace and faith for these 4 communities. And we got them to sing all together. And the one song brought the oneness, brought the variations together into one. And that's something that they are not used to do. They're used to position themselves side by side, different song for the Christians, different songs from the Muslims, different songs for the Hindus, and they create tolerance by that. But I took it a step further by having one song, same melody, same music, same notes, but using those different sacred words in one song. So increasing the oneness and the sense of oneness among those children. And you know what? The religious leaders who were there and donors and sponsors of the school, it was the Peace Day celebration in that school in Ajmer in Rajasthan, India. All the dignitaries took notice of that. They noticed that it was something beyond what they normally do. And they came to me after, and they were very deeply moved. And they asked me if I could come back and if I could go with them to Kashmir, the center of conflict between India and Pakistan is Kashmir. They wanted me to come back next year and to do a big event in Kashmir to try to lower the tensions and encourage the peace. So there was a fabulous reception. And this is in a very poor neighborhood. It used to be a slum. And now it's, with the efforts of many, many good people and charity organizations, it's not a slum. It's still a poor neighborhood, but it's not in dire straits as it used to be. So that is the kind of music that we do, the kind of work that we do, using music to bring people together.
I think that music has really proved itself to be a connector of across divides, and it's astonishing to me that not more people are doing this.
Yes.
And so I understand that you, from what you said earlier, that you're also training facilitators to be able to expand this work out into the world.
That is one of the programs that we have created for the new foundation, the Inspired Sound Initiative. One of the programs that we are planning to do is once a year. We're going to start with once a year programs in Los Angeles where we would pay for people to fly and stay and be in Los Angeles for the training period. We're going to handpick talented young artists who are willing to do something with their music and dance, and train them on how we do it, how we program, how we do the business side of things, how we get a nonprofit organization together, how do we fundraise, how we coordinate, how we manage, and how we educate. And we are interested in people coming and going out to the world with this training. So we are not the only one who's doing it. We are interested in duplicating ourselves many times.
So if someone is interested in supporting this or getting involved in this some way, can they connect with you through inspiredsoundinitiative.org?
Yes. There's a page there for connecting with us. It's very simple. Yeah, just go to that website, learn more about it, and please contact us, because we have a great team of people from all over the country, lawyers, educators, bankers, mortgage lenders, so many people. It's really heartwarming that people responded to the call that I put out, and they're all coming together to work to realize that vision.
Again, it's inspiredsoundinitiative.org.
Right.
So I see that we just have a few seconds before our next break, but I think that this is so exciting to see. And Yuval, I just want to say how delighted I am that you're in this world doing this work. Now, another website that I noticed you have is called Meta Mindfulness Music, and I was very interested in the musical CDs that you had created with Dr. Gold. Tell us about them.
Well, these are music for healing, and it's very interesting projects that it's a commission that I got from Dr. Gold, who's a pioneer healer. He's an expert in Chinese medicine and medical Thai massage and some Ayurvedic medicine. So what he asked me to do is to create a set of musical CDs that would promote healing and well-being based on Chinese medicine. That's the first box set of 7 CDs. And every acupuncturist and herbalist from the Chinese medicine field would understand immediately when they see that, because it's based on the elements. There's one CD on fire. There's one CD that invokes the power of fire. There's another one called wood, which is another element. There's element of water, earth, air, which is called metal in Chinese medicine, and so on and so forth. So there's 7 different CDs. Each one promote and invoke a different element, which is within nature and within us. And there's a way to use it for different remedies. People use it for cures for insomnia, to elevate stress, high blood pressure. It promotes faster recovery from trauma, from surgery, from injuries. And they use it in rooms of treatment for example, chiropractors, massage therapists, Chinese medicine practitioners, and so on. The second project that I did with Dr. Gold for Meta Mindfulness Music, that's the company that handled that, music for healing. You can look it up, Meta with double T, metamindfulnessmusic.com. The second project that we did is based on Ayurvedic medicine, which is the ancient medicine of India, which is very, very complex, more complex than the Indian system, than the Chinese system. And that system relates to yoga. So the principles of Ayurvedic medicine from India and the principles of yoga have some common elements that comes from the ancient texts, the Vedas. And so the music that I created for that came out as a 4 CD box set. And that is used for mostly for meditation, mindfulness, and yoga.
I'm curious, how did you come up with the music for each different element? How were you inspired to it?
Well, I did a lot of research. I just gave a lecture in Delhi 3 weeks ago called The Healing Power of Sound to the Quantum Institute of India about this question that you just asked me. It was a 2 hours lecture with a PowerPoint presentation where I showed them every layer that is in the music and why I use that layer, what is the philosophy. So it's a very, very long story. It's going to take me 2 hours to answer your question. But I'm going to say very quickly is that I did a 2 years research on the musical elements that the ancient Chinese used for healing. And I found quite a lot of information about musical tones that were used, musical instruments that were used. In addition, I used neuroscience and music therapy clinical trials showing which musical modes, which musical scales, which musical instruments promote relaxation and promote well-being in different areas of health. And I used my background as a film composer, using music in films, which is it's a field called psychoacoustics, which we use in film. Is how can we manipulate the emotions of the audience using music in films? How do we make the audience to feel hopeful, or to feel afraid, or to feel that the plot is that the story is not over, that the solution is not there yet? How do we manipulate the psychology of the audience with music? That is something that I studied and I use all the time as a film composer. So I use all these tools in order to create music that make people feel and think and have physical and mental positive impacts relating to those elements of fire, water, earth, air, and something called triple warmer, which is another element in Chinese medicine.
It's also an acupuncture nexus.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
I went to your site and I was listening to some of the samples that you had of the different CDs. So does one tend to be drawn by an element that is your prime element, or by a complementary element, what you might need to balance?
I'm sorry, the signal just broke down. I missed the first half of the question.
I was wondering if you need, if you're listening to the different elements, if you would be drawn to the element that is identical to your primary element, or whether you would use the other elements to balance what you're lacking.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. The way the music is being used is mostly to invoke the elements that you need. So, for example, if you suffer from a lot of dryness, you have dry tongue, you have a lot of heat in your body, you've got all kinds of skin rashes because of that, you have all kinds of symptoms, basically because you have too much heat and you don't have coolness in your body. you eat a lot of spicy food. Let's say you have a fiery temperament. It's mental and physical. Then we would use water, the CD called water, to bring more calmness and bring more coolness and calm the fire with the element of water. You see, so the way it's called ancient wisdom and modern sound for well-being and health. That's the first CD set of the elements. That's how these works. The second box set, which is the Ayurvedic box set, which has 4 CDs. One is called Vata, the other one Pitta, and the third one is Kapha, and the fourth one is Vital Harmony. These are different. These are not so much about invoking the elements that you need, but rather balancing your tendencies. So, for example, if you are a Vata type, which is somebody who's very much creative and their mind wanders all the time like the wind, and they're not very grounded, and they're very, very dreamy and creative and not programmatic, and they work on million projects and they never get anything done. They never produce anything completely, but they have wonderful ideas. And they have a feeling that they have this feeling that the world moves too fast. Everything moves too fast, and they are very stressed by it, and they can't. They want to shout, "Please stop the world! I want to get off." That's the kind of a feeling. All those things are expressions of a Vata type, which is off balance. Mm-hmm. You see, it's wonderful to be creative and a dreamer. We need that. But if you're off balance, that's not good. Then you need to listen to that CD called Vata, because that CD, that music balances. In one hand, it encourages the elements of Vata, the dreaminess, the airiness. It encourages it and complements it and acknowledges it. At the same time, the music provides warmth and groundedness and a little bit more emotional warmth, because the Vata type they tend to be a little cold. It's like a cold air. They're not fully passionate, like really, they're not fiery. They're creative and dreamy, but they're not fiery and passionate because they're moved by cold air.
So the CD acknowledges the best of their characteristics and tries to balance and encourage the expression of it in the best way.
Right. That's why those four CDs, the dosha sets, the healing sounds of the doshas, the Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and Vital Harmony, that set is much more complex than the 7 CD sets of the Chinese medicine that simply invoke the elements of fire or the elements of water or the elements of earth, etc., etc. Here, in the doshas, in the Ayurvedic medicine, we are doing 2 things at the same time. We are balancing an element and we complement it, we encourage it, we acknowledge it, and provide it what it needs as a balance.
Well, Yuval, you are a man of many parts. We have had the pleasure of speaking with Yuval Ron, and I want to remind you about the website of his foundation, inspiredsoundinitiative.org. And if you want to learn more about these CDs, it's metamindfulnessmusic.com, meta with 2 T's. So, Yuval, thank you for finally being with us today.
Thank you very much, Pia.
And thank you all for listening. And do join us next week. In the meantime, visit my website, ncreview.com. I'm Miriam Knight, wishing you many blessings in your life. Goodbye.